More media is soul searching when it comes to the Hunter Biden laptop story. The Washington Post editorial board is now saying it's an opportunity for a reckoning. How about that? They wrote this in an editorial, quote, "The lesson learned from 2016 was evidently to err on the side of setting aside questionable material in the heat of a political campaign. The lesson learned from 2020 may well be that there's also a danger of suppressing accurate and relevant stories." You know what? It reminds me of this moment, flashback to 2016. Remember when the New York Times essentially apologized to its readers? They said this, Harris, in a letter to their readers, "As we reflect on the momentous result, of course, President Trump won, and the months of reporting and polling that preceded it, we aim to rededicate ourselves to the fundamental mission of Times journalism. That is to report America and the world honestly without fear or favor. You can rely on the New York Times to bring the same fairness, the same level of scrutiny, the same independence to our coverage of the new president, then President Trump and his team." Except it didn't happen.
Well, and I wondered why they felt like they needed to rededicate themselves from what? Because they were acknowledging that they hadn't been fair in their coverage in the campaign up to that point?
Right.
I mean, and you think you can fix that with a little clarification? By the way, look how long it took them to not just clarify, but actually fix the fact that they were wrong or knew that they were wrong and lied. I'm still not clear on which they are copping to in terms of the Hunter Biden story and the laptop. I mean, it is confusing, but I think the American people get it right here. They've decided that they don't trust mainstream media a big chunk of time, like 67% of the time. And I'm not happy about that because I've spent my whole life as a journalist. But I do understand it because when you look at some of the behavior in the liberal media, you kind of understand why people are like, well, why didn't you reach the conclusion earlier that the facts were true? You know, how can we trust you? But the bigger picture to me in all of this has to do with the fact that was our president compromised, and does anybody care about that at the White House? And Ron Klain at least said, we'll see how the investigations play out. Okay, then let's see that. And let's see coverage of that. And let's see coverage of that every day the same way we did with former President Trump or whomever in the past. I'm sure Clinton would have something to say too.
Right. And remember the New York Times.
Not Hillary.
Bill. Remember the New York Times won Pulitzers over the Russia lies after they made that vow to their readers. But to Harris's point, Tommy, there's a lot of questions to be asked. You know, who is the big guy? 10% for the big guy. Remember Tony Bobolinsky, the business partner, said the big guy was Biden. That was his allegation. Remember Biden in that 2015 dinner with Russian officials, people who were doing deals with Hunter Biden at Cafe Milano. There was another meeting where he met with business partners. Allegedly, Burisma said, hey, we met with Joe Biden in an email to Hunter Biden. And then, of course, he flies with Joe Biden on Air Force Two over to China. And 12 days later, Hunter Biden registers a company. There's a lot of questions journalists should be asking.
A lot of questions journalists should be asking and a lot of lack of transparency. But again, it's so easy for these Democrats, for these Biden officials and even the mainstream media to just say, oh, it's under investigation. Like that's just supposed to placate to the masses. It's under investigation. It's easy to say. But beyond just the mainstream media, let's talk about social media. Let's talk about the collusion between big tech, the Democrat Party, and the mainstream media to silence and censor any narrative that they don't like or that compromises their political beliefs or their political agenda. That is what happened here. So now they're giving us, oh, whoopsie, I'm sorry. Why is it that the left and the companies controlled by the left are always able to just issue a little correction or a little apology without fear of being canceled? Meanwhile, conservatives have actually had their information censored and canceled and ended for things that were actually true. Where is the accountability for the Democrat Party, the Biden administration, big tech, and the mainstream media? A lot of people need to be answering our questions.
Yeah, and Stephen Nelson over at the New York Post really laid out kind of the questions for President Biden on this, one of which was that 2015 dinner where there were, let's see, it was a trio of Kazakhs in attendance with the former vice president, Russian billionaire, and the ex-Moscow mayor's wife. A lot of questions, Emily, but yet you have Chief of Staff Ron Klain saying this.
The Washington Post also reported this week on deals that Hunter Biden had with a Chinese energy company, paid $4.8 million to entities controlled by Hunter and the president's brother. Is the president confident his family didn't cross any ethical lines?
George, the president is confident that his family did the right thing. But again, I want to just be really clear. These are actions by Hunter and his brother. They're private matters. They don't involve the president, and they certainly are something that no one at the White House is involved in.
I mean, it just boggles the mind. So in addition to that, we have last Thursday, Kate Bedingfield, in response to a question, does the administration still stand behind President Biden's comments that my son has not made money in terms of this thing about what you're talking about, China, right? Little word salad, but he's basically saying my son has made no money in regards to China. But a Senate probe has already uncovered that his son made at least $11 million that was wired from a Chinese official to accounts controlled.
임영웅